Welcome back to another price report. Today, I'm going to go over Bitcoin, what's just happened over the last 24 hours. I'm going to go over Bitcoin dominance. Is it going to be an alt season? And I'm going to map out the scenario which I think is likely to play out next. So stay tuned. Well, we've had a crazy 24 hours, well, a few days with Bitcoin actually. We've gone, let me bring my favorites back up. We've gone from up here, so it's a good 17% drop. And then from the top over here, October 6th, it's a good 30%, which is normal. But, what's concerning for me is when we zoom out, and I've redrawn this trend line many times, well, twice, and it's breached it. So if I zoom out, this goes back to the low of Bitcoin in 2022, and it's held all this time. And then last night, while I was sleeping, it actually dipped underneath it. So what does this mean? Does this mean it's going to go lower? Possibly. Do I think it's going to go lower? Probably. But what I want to do is I want to have a quick look at a fresh Bitcoin chart. I want to do that first because sometimes it's good to just zoom out and be like, okay, what's actually going on here? Because when you've got a chart and previous trend lines have been broken, it's sometimes good to just zoom out and just look at the bigger picture. So when I look at a fresh chart, I normally, depending on how much data is available, I zoom out until like the weekly. And this is the Coinbase chart, so there's not as much data, but I'm going to use it anyway. And so when I'm looking at something like this, I'm seeing some kind of clear still support line over here. So that's what I'm going to draw in first. Got to draw in support, and let's just connect these bottoms. And then we can zoom in to make sure we've got the right bottom. So that's connected to that low there, 2015, when Bitcoin was $200. And I've connected it to this low and that low, and you can see it's broken it. So that's not good. And so that means that long-term trend line, which has held for many years, is no longer acting as support. So which probably means the price is going to drop lower. And so then it's a case of just connecting other lows and seeing how low this can potentially take us. So I'm drawing that line now. You could also draw another one, maybe even connecting like this point here. And it is a guessing game. Like trading analysis is, what did someone say to me once? It's like astrology for men, and it kind of is. And so you can drive yourself crazy with this, but there's some kind of range here. And so if I'm gonna make predictions, I would say, how low could it go? 56k. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty reasonable. There's also a horizontal line of support, say somewhere there as well. So that could bring this to around about here, 67. So that's a realistic place in these two places here. And again, I'm not saying it's going to hit these levels because it might not yet anyway, because I think the macro is just too bullish. And so you've got this point here. This is more realistic, this 83k level. And so this is zoomed out on the weekly. And then what I do next is I zoom in even further, go into like say the daily, and then I connect these more local bottoms. And so I know this looks kind of messy and we can hide some of these. I'm looking at local lows. And as you do this, you'll notice some kind of pattern. You'll notice all these trend lines have this kind of range. And so this is a big range, 83k to 58k. And again, these are possibilities. It might not even go this low. It might be a case of, I don't like to use the term shaken out, but a lot of people do, so I'm just going to use it. A lot of people have been shaken out the market, and it might just go up from here, and that's very possible. So these are the worst case scenarios for Bitcoin, I would say. I would say 83k. If it does break that, then you're probably looking at 70k, 69k. If it breaks that, then I'd be very surprised if it breaks this kind of level here. And again, I'm not saying it will, but these are possibilities. And yeah, so this is if it is going to continue to go lower, these are my targets. But what I found really interesting is that alts aren't actually doing that bad. Like I saw Bitcoin kind of, well, you could say capitulate, but alts are kind of holding steady. Yeah, they have dropped, but this is normal price action for alts, so this is kind of normal. And some of them are like this one over here. This one just, I don't know what's going on with this coin. It just keeps pumping and dumping and pumping again. And so I was looking at Bitcoin dominance. And as we zoom in on here, I've been saying for a long time, it has to fall. It's just waiting to fall. And it started. I've been saying this for months, and it's just taken forever. And it has finally started to fall. So this is great. And so what this means is that Bitcoin dominance is falling. And this means two things. It means either this money is going into alts or it's just going into stablecoins. And unfortunately, right now it looks like it is just going into stablecoins because this stablecoin dominance chart has been zooming up. But some of it has been going into alts because they've kind of held kind of steady so far. And so, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. So Bitcoin is somewhat recovering, so you can expect some kind of relief here, where we could have a pullback. When you have a big drop like this, you normally do get a 50% pullback. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we come back up to this 97k level before going back down again. But who knows? So I'm just going to throw that out there. I want to, again, amend this trend line because I've got to connect the local lows. I'll just leave that there. So what I think is going to happen? I mean, I've been saying for a long time that I don't think this run is over. And the problem has been liquidity. There's no liquidity in the market. And the example I use is, just say from your own personal example, you've got $1,000 and you want to buy gold, Bitcoin, stocks, you want to buy everything, but you've only got $1,000. So you can only buy, just say you do split up 25%, buy 25% Bitcoin, 25% altcoins, 25% gold, 25% silver. And if you want to buy stocks, well, you have no more money. So what do? You either reallocate some of your assets, you bring everything down from 25% to 20%, and then you put that extra percentage back into stocks, or you make more money. And that's the situation we're in right now. This chart here, I've been going on about this one, USM2. Now, if you understand macroeconomics, this just goes up. And as this goes up, everything else goes up. Not because they're worth more, but because the US dollar is worth less. And everything had a bit of a tumble yesterday. Stocks as well, they've kind of somewhat recovered. So, my thesis is that we probably will have more falling. And that's not a bad thing. Things will crash. And then December 1st, QE, quantitative tightening, QT, is ending. So that means the Fed is free to start printing money again. So you really want to keep an eye on this chart here. The reality is this chart is just going to continue to go up north, and that's more money. So that extra money is going to find its way back into the markets. It's not going to happen overnight. We might not have a huge pump in December. I think we probably will. Don't take my word for it. But I'm thinking, this money is going to start to trickle through. Confidence is going to start to get higher and higher. And that's when maybe Bitcoin won't make another all-time high. Not just yet. Maybe not until next year at some point. But this is what could fuel the alt season that I've been waiting for and many others have been waiting for. So they are my thoughts. I don't think this is the end of the world. Pullbacks are normal. And let's see what happens.